So this meeting brings us to the end of Sukadev Goswami's narration of the Rasa dance in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So thus far we've studied Canto 10, chapters 29, 30, 31, 32, and now we'll complete 33. But as mentioned in several messages and emails, the acharyas have numerous commentaries and explanations of details. So we'll continue studying the pastime from various points of view, from different books and different commentaries. So please stay tuned. But now let us enter into these final texts. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 33, Text 35 from Krishna book. Love this painting. Kind of shows Mahavishnu down here. All the universes are coming. We're way down here, and Krishna's way up there. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly says that whenever he appears, he does so by his internal potency. He is not forced to accept a body by the laws of karma like an ordinary living entity. Every other living entity is forced to accept a certain type of body by his previous actions. But when Krishna appears, he always appears in a body. It is not forced upon him by the actions of his past deeds. His body is a vehicle for his transcendental pleasure, which is enacted by his internal potency. He has no obligation to the laws of karma. The Mayavadi monists must accept a certain type of body, being forced by the laws of nature. Therefore, his claim to be one with Krishna, or God, is only theoretical. Such persons who claim to be equal with Krishna and indulge in the Rasa Lila create a dangerous situation for the people in general. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is already present as Supersoul within the bodies of the gopis and their husbands. He is the guide of all living entities, and as is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supersoul directs the individual soul to act, and the Supersoul is the actor and witness of all action. Samapriya,
Hare Krishna.
it's more.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Nice to see you here today in freezing cold in Alachua. We're very spoiled. When it's 60 degrees, it's cold here. Hare Krishna. Madhurya Leela, are you there with us? Her name is here, but she's not here. Okay. Manvantara, she might have. Okay. Murari Thakur. Thakur Murari. Would you like to read, Thakur? Oh my goodness.
Give me a second.
And company.
Hare Krishna. Ah.
Okay, so it is where should I start?
It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. So it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is present in everyone's heart, and from him come all action, remembrance, and forgetfulness. He is the original person to be known by Vedic knowledge. He is the author of Vedanta philosophy, and he knows the Vedanta philosophy perfectly well. So-called Vedantists and Mayavadis cannot understand Krishna as he is. They simply mislead followers by imitating the process, imitating the actions of Krishna in an unauthorized way. Krishna, the super soul of everyone, is already within the body of everyone. Therefore, if he sees someone or embraces someone, there is no question of propriety.
Now, this particular meeting, I've adjusted the Zoom version so that first there's Krishna book, then there's directly under it the Sarartha Darshini commentary. So I think it's probably best if we do both pairs together and then discuss.
Okay. So Oh, that one. Murari, keep going, Thakur. Thakurji, are you there? Okay. Okay, Acharya, why don't you help us out here?
Alibod?
Go
Oh,
ahead.
now he's back. Okay.
Yeah. I thought
Thanks, it's time.
I unmuted.
Okay,
Okay. So,
go on.
10:33.35. Sarsa Darshini. He who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. We shall now talk about the Thakur. After considering that Krishna had no fault in embracing others' wives, this verse points out that there is no superior to Krishna who pervades every inch of creation. Shukadev Goswami said, what is Krishna's fault in embracing the gopis externally, since he is constantly embracing them within their hearts? What is Krishna's fault in seeing the external bodies of the gopis when internally he is constantly observing their mind and intelligence? What is the fault of Krishna who served the bodies of the gopis by various playful gestures, such as wiping away the perspiration from their faces after Rasa Lila?
So you have some commentary, Thakur?
Yes, all those questions I was asked. Okay, so we agree that Krishna is Atmarama, he has everything. And there are persons who think that is inappropriate, but not realize that the gopis had asked to have this relation with Krishna. So we are the lover and the beloved. So as the question asks, he exists in each of us. So he knows each of us mind, one to say, like anybody else, even more than we know ourselves. So how could he say, is that fault when he knows us so intimately? Yeah.
Good.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Patsy, why don't you?
I didn't really understand. Why don't you elaborate, restate his question? I couldn't really follow.
Well, no, he was telling his realization that since Krishna is in the hearts of everyone, and he's already has an intimate relationship with the gopis, that was so there's no harm in him. There's no fault if he dances with them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the whole point being made. That's one of them anyway. Just as a brief reminder, the question asked by Maharaj Parikshit was that if Krishna advented to establish Dharma and reestablish the principles of religion, then why did he dance with others' wives, which is apparently adharmic? And this is kind of just reiterating that point. It's another aspect to the answer that Sukadev Goswami is giving, that Krishna advents for his own pleasure, but he's not forced to advent. And he's in the hearts of everyone anyway, so he's already there. So many different ways to cover the topic.
Yeah. Ishvara, he's not responsible. He's not, we don't judge Krishna at all, especially according to our rules. Yeah, he's way above that. Okay. Let's go on with Acharya. Why don't you pick up here in the Krishna book?
Hare Krishna, thank you.
There you go.
Text 36, Krishna book. Some ask that if Krishna is self-sufficient, why should he at all manifest pastimes with the gopis, which are disturbing to the so-called moralists of the world? The answer is that such activities show special mercy to the fallen conditioned souls. The gopis are also expansions of his internal energy, but because Krishna wanted to exhibit the Rasa Lila, they also appeared as ordinary human beings. In the material world, pleasure is ultimately manifested in the sex attraction between man and woman. The man lives simply to be attracted by women, and the woman lives simply to be attracted by men. That is the basic principle of material life. As soon as As soon as these attractions are combined, people become more and more implicated in material existence. In order to show them special favor, Krishna exhibited this Rasalila dance. It is just to captivate the conditioned soul. Since they are very much attracted by sexology, they can enjoy the same life with Krishna and thus become liberated from the material condition. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit also explains that the pastimes and activities of Lord Krishna are medicine for the conditioned souls. If they simply hear about Krishna, they become relieved from the material disease. They are addicted to material enjoyment and are accustomed to reading sex literature. But by hearing these transcendental pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, they will be relieved from material contamination.
Okay, let's go on with Bahusha reading, and then we'll have a discussion at the end of this. Bahusha.
Text 36.
No,
No, finish
Oh,
the.
okay. Yeah, I can read it now. It says how they should hear and from whom is also explained by Sukadev Goswami. The difficulty is that the whole world is full of Mayavadis. And when they become professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam, and when people, without knowing the effect of the Mayavad philosophy, hear from such persons, they become confused. Discussion of Ras Leela among people in general is not recommended because they are affected by the Mayavad philosophy. But if one who is advanced explains and people hear from him, certainly the hearers will be gradually elevated to the position of Krishna consciousness and liberated from materially contaminated life.
Go on.
Text 36, Sarartha Darshini. When the Lord assumed a human-like body to show mercy to his devotees, he engages in such activities as will attract those who hear about them to become dedicated to him. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This verse answers Maharaj Parikshit's second question. What was Krishna's purpose in doing such forbidden activities? Sukadev Goswami said Krishna acted in this way to show mercy to his devotees. By hearing about Krishna's love dalliance with the gopis, the living entities situated in human bodies will become believers in these topics. Thus, it should be understood that Krishna's sweet rasa dance, the quintessence of all his pastimes, is like a powerful medicine consisting of mantras and, please bring it up, mantras and jewels. Krishna's Ras Leela has an inconceivable spiritual potency to attract the polluted hearts of all conditioned souls. The chief qualification to attain this level of devotion involving Madhurya Ras is to have a human body.
Oh, okay. Now you tell us, and then Acharya, you tell us your realizations of this. What about that last line? Just read it again.
The chief qualification to attain this level of devotion involving Madhurya Ras is to have a human body. So a human body, of course, is 2 arms, 2 legs, and that's the highest form of Krishna because Narayan, of course, has 2 arms, 4 arms, and 2 legs. But the thing is that the most intimate form is this so-called human type of form with 2 arms and 2 legs. Of course, but then Krishna jacks it up. He jacks it up in such a way that he's so extremely beautiful, and his limbs are so extremely pleasing to the devotees that simply devotees by seeing him will end up feigning, and it actually brings out the highest sentiment of love in the living entity. Because, of course, with Narayan, he couldn't even maintain that form in Vrindavan when the gopis came looking for Krishna. Because soon as they saw him, they said, "Oh, you're Narayan," as though he's somebody different. They said, we're looking for Krishna. So in that way, the Lord is showing his mercy like that to the living entities by attaining this human form. And
It's
so
interesting. It's interesting you went that way with it. It's interesting that you're talking about Krishna's side whereas I thought it was anyone with a human form of life. You can achieve this Madhurya Bhav toward Krishna. You have the qualification. That's the qualification. It's not, no one is banned. Anyone can receive this. Of course, there's something you have to do to receive it, but the first qualification is that you have the human form of life. Mukunda, and then Acharya, please comment on this. Mukundaji.
Yeah, the gist of both of those verses was taken from two verses, one beginning Vishridam Vrajavaridam Icharcha Vishnu, and the other one is Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manushinam Dehi Namastita. So here Manushinam means human beings who have a human form. They will benefit by hearing the kata of the Ras Lila. So, but it needs to be heard. The first verse saying it needs to be heard from someone who's a qualified speaker of it. So that would negate Mayavadis because they don't accept the transcendental form of Krishna. It negates those who don't really have true realization because they may speak something incongruent with the truth regarding the Ras Lila. And as far as Dharma is concerned, Bhagavatam is saying in the second verse of Bhagavatam, Dharma projita kaitavatra. So this love of Radha and Krishna, the Ras Lila, is the pinnacle of Dharma. And Bhagavatam is speaking about this and not rejects, but puts all other forms of Dharma in context to this.
Oh, good. Nice way of saying that. Wonderful. Thank you. Acharyaji, tell us your realization.
I don't know about realization, but if Prabhupada, taken in isolation, he really dropped a bomb in the Krishna book part, the first part, basically saying, well, if you're interested in sex, you like reading about sex, then read this, read the
Right.
Rasa Lila, which taken in isolation like that is a pretty wild thing to say. But then, of course, in the second part of the Krishna book reading, he explains you have to hear from the proper source, not the Mayavadis, but hear from the qualified devotees, and then you'll understand and be purified. But just the way Prabhupada presented it with that first statement really was shocking and really makes your ears perk up, I think.
And but the sex desire in the material world will become purified by hearing about Krishna, and understanding has nothing to do with sex in this world. Nothing, but it's the bhav. Just because it's a shadow in the material world, it's a shadow. Just hearing even about the shadow, if you hear it from a self-realized soul, you can get benefit. I mean, hearing it through the shadow.
Oh, hearing about the original, not the
The
shadow.
original, right? Hearing, not the shadow. Hare Krishna.
Before we go on, there's a kind of an automatic switch that many devotees in ISKCON have, that whenever Rasa Lila or more intimate pastimes or even higher concepts of philosophy are brought up, that, oh, I'm not qualified, we're not qualified, this should never be spoken in public. This isn't public, by the way. This is a Zoom meeting. It's not in a temple where other people that have no interest or knowledge about it are listening. But check this out, and Prabhupada explains very clearly the distinction. There's a fine tuning to this. We should not cultivate that turn-off switch. It's not good for one's advancement in spiritual life. But anyway, discussions of Ras Leela among people in general is not recommended because they're affected by Mayavad philosophy. But if one who is advanced explains and people hear from him, certainly the hearers will gradually be elevated to the position of Krishna consciousness and liberated from materially contaminated life. So it's actually instructing that one should hear it. But as Mukunda just pointed out, in the two verses, there's the Sanskrit which says you have to hear from the right person. That's the qualification. And we have the right person. We have the right persons. We're hearing from so many different acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. You hear from them and you get the proper information and attraction. It actually awakens love. It doesn't help the weeds grow of sahaja or sentimentality. And another point down below, that one that Samapriya made, just to make it pointed out about Bahusha talking about Krishna and his arms with two arms.
I think it was the
Yeah, where was that? This was at
up
the
top,
end.
the last.
No, it's human life. This one. So here he's talking about by hearing about Krishna's love dalliance with the gopis, the living entities situated in human bodies will become believers in these topics. It's the first hint about who he's talking about. He's talking about those with human bodies. What did Rupa Goswami, what did Lord Chaitanya explain to Rupa Goswami about who's qualified for this bhakti? What's his famous verse? Who can help us? Raise your hand. Lord Chaitanya to Rupa Goswami
Oh,
about fortunate souls. Hint, hint.
oh no.
Bhagavan Jeev.
Krishna Prasade Pade Bhagavan.
Brahmande Brahmate Kon Bhagavan Jeev. Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. Brahmanda Brahmate Kon Bhagavan Jeev means of all the living entities in this Brahmanda Brahmate Kon, those that are rotating through all the different bodies and cycles of samsara, Bhagavan Jeev, one who's unfortunate, will receive Guru Prasad, Bhakti Lata Bij, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhaya Bhakti Lata Bij. So how fortunate we are. There are unlimited numbers of living entities. There's 12 people in this meeting. So it's saying here that the qualification, again, back to our previous discussion about that automatic turn-off quality that, oh no, it's too advanced for me. The chief qualification to attain this level of devotion involving the Madhurya Rasa is to have a human body. Well, if you've got a human body, then you're qualified to, at least you have the first qualification, the main qualification, the chief qualification.
Wow. That's pretty liberal.
It's very liberal.
Prabhupada also stated that we are not boycotting the gopis.
Yeah, great. Haribol.
Oh, it's Chaitamai. Haribol.
Oh, Haribol. New York Sankirtan. Harigovinda. Ki Jai.
So fortunate to be here.
Hare Krishna.
Everything good with you?
Yes, give thanks. Health is good, and there's so much service here in New York. Book distribution, Harinam every day for 4 hours.
Good for you. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
I just saw a video the other day of the subway. There was just a few boys down there. Look cold.
It's freezing.
Let's go.
The thing is, you play some music, and then you get up and you dance. And that
Oh, nice.
so many people come and want to listen, and they take books, and everything works well.
Wonderful. Yeah, they're ripe. They're real ripe in New York right now. Okay, let's go on reading.
Chattamai.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Starting from text 37, Krishna book. Okay, another important point is that all the gopis who danced with Krishna were not in their material bodies. They danced with Krishna in their spiritual bodies. All their husbands thought that their wives were sleeping by their sides. The so-called husbands of the gopis were already enamored by the influence of the external energy of Krishna. So, by dint of this very energy, they could not understand that their wives had gone to dance with Krishna. What then is the basis of accusing Krishna of dancing with others' wives? The bodies of the gopis, which were their husbands, were lying in bed, but the spiritual parts and parcels of Krishna were dancing with him. Krishna is the supreme person, the whole spirit, and he danced with the spiritual bodies of the gopis. The spiritual bodies of the gopis. There is therefore no reason to accuse Krishna in any way.
Okay. Mukunda, why don't you continue and then we'll have a discussion. Thank you, Chaito. We'll meditate on this so you can give us your input.
Yes. Can you bring it down? Oh, there it is. I can see it now. Text 37, the cowherd men, bewildered by Krishna's illusory potency, thought their wives had remained home at their sides. Thus, they did not harbor any jealous feelings against him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, anticipating Parikshit Maharaj might ask, when Krishna enjoyed with the gopis every night of the year, how was it that their husbands, not seeing their wives at home, did not become angry with Krishna? Shukadev Goswami replied in this verse, everything was perfectly arranged by Krishna's internal potency of Yog Maya, not his external Mahamaya potency. Mahamaya has no jurisdiction over the intimate devotees of Sri Krishna. Those bewildered by Mahamaya are all opposed to the Lord, whereas the gopis of Raj had not a particle of opposition to the Lord. Therefore, Yogmaya created as many exact replicas, doubles, of the gopis as there were gopis who went to meet Krishna for the Ras dance, and showed these to the cowherd men. Thus, the cowherd men thought that their wives were by their sides. Ujjwala Nilamani supports this statement. Those replicas of the cowherd men created by Yogamaya did not have any sexual contact with their husbands. As Yogamaya is a transcendental energy, her effects must all be eternal and spiritual. Since there was a complete absence of material Maya, even the replica gopis remaining by their husbands, though playing the roles of wives, were actually all spiritual entities. Playing the role of wives was their perfection in executing the will of Yogamaya. These wives, manufactured by Yogamaya, had absolutely no physical contact with their husbands. It would have been unfitting even for these replica gopis to have forms similar to the original gopis to be enjoyed by any other men. Therefore, the verse says, Swa pravaswa stan, the gopis who were standing by their sides rather than the gopis who were in their beds. Yogamaya personally reconciled everything and ensured that their husbands never experienced any lust for them. When the real gopis returned to their individual homes after the Ras dance, Yogamaya made the replica gopis disappear.
Okay, now I have a question before you discuss this. The way Prabhupada presents it, and the way we heard it from the beginning, before we were reading other books by the Acharyas in the very beginning. So it seems that we understand that the gopis were lying there, and then in their spiritual bodies, they went to enjoy with Krishna. And it's as though when you're dreaming, your subtle body goes and you have a connection with it, like some kind of a connection, so it doesn't die. So from the start, I always thought of it like that the bodies are there and the gopis are enjoying with Krishna and serving him in completely spiritual bodies, and their bodies are lying there. Now we hear that Vishwanath Chakravarti and many of the Goswamis are making these other comments about how the gopis are the work of Yogamaya, being produced by Yogamaya. So that could be a little confusing. What do you got to say about that?
Of course, we have to, take into account that Srila Prabhupada's expertise, which is why Mahaprabhu and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur selected him to be the fulfillment of Mahaprabhu's prophecy, was his expertise to make things digestible for us at a particular time. If my 5-year-old granddaughter will ask me, or grandson will ask me, how are babies produced, I may tell them babies come from God. I'm not going into the details about adult interactions. So Srila Prabhupada was very merciful to us that while communicating, basic understandings around things, did put everything in his books, so that later as our maturation came about, then reading that he himself is recommended, like in Adi Lila 2:117, to study the books of the previous acharyas. As we matured, then we would get all of these things and unlock the keys to the things he's already written in his books. So it's not really a contradiction of Srila Prabhupada's extreme mercy. Because if Srila Prabhupada had spoken many things that are in the Acharya's books and we didn't understand it, we may have become disillusioned with the process. Oh, this is too complex, it's too complicated, So people would have maybe lost some energy around it. But
That's one way, but it has to be truth. There has to be some truth there as
Also,
well.
he wrote a summary.
yes,
He even explained that
that's
this
the
is a
point.
summary.
Right.
He didn't do it. Krishna book is completely different than the entire complexity of his Srimad Bhagavatam books. Translation, synonyms, commentary, purport, that whole method. He didn't do that. He put it into prose, and he did it as Mukunda just so expertly that everybody got the idea, with the understanding that later on these things would be expanded upon and more clearly explained, like these
Yeah.
details.
Mhm.
It's a good example.
If you read the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, very first verse, in that purport, he recommends if you want to understand the sex psychology of this, you should study the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's right from the purport of the very first verse.
Oh,
of
really?
the
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. That's good.
Yeah, he
Wow.
makes a recommendation, which is Sarata Darshini. So,
Yes.
very first verse. But Gopal Champu describes how this actually happens. Jiva Goswami mentioned that when all the gopis were very young, they all wanted to marry Krishna. But then, because that would disturb the mood of Parakiya Bhav, Yogmaya arranged for Garga Acharya to come to Vrindavan and read the charts of all the gopis and then tell all the various gopis' parents that though Krishna is wonderful and they're wonderful, their charts don't align. So better not that they marry. So then when they were promised to be married was the same year that Krishna himself became all of the cowherd boys during the Brahma Vimohan Leela. That's the year they made the promise of marriage. So now, later on the day they were to go to the in-laws' house, there was so much pain involved in going that Purnamasi said that she would take them and deliver them to the house of the in-laws so she could console them. But what she did was she made duplicates and she delivered the duplicates to the house. The original gopis remained, it's called a Prakash Abhiman. They have the idea I'm married. And they live in that idea. And so the duplicate bodies and the original bodies have a synthesis based on the idea I'm married. But neither the duplicate bodies of the Nityasiddha gopis or the Prakash Bade bodies, it's called, ever were touched by the husbands.
Right. That's
But the Sadhana Siddha gopis' bodies had been touched, which is why they could not go to Rasalila on that night. But once they became purified by the depth of their meditation and the pain from the separation, it comes in the verse, Dusaha virohe tivra tapta dushta subha. In this verse, he describes by their pain, they became purified from that and they obtained the ras on a later night or the Nitya ras in Golok Vrindavan.
all right. Very good.
So
I've read
one of the-
Gopala. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
I've read Gopala Champu, that Big Hughes book, 8 times. I always read it. And it always confuses me. But, sometimes I say, oh yeah, and then next time I say, what? But I keep reading it over and over again.
One of the things that's happening is the commentaries and especially Sukadev Goswami are tying up all the loose ends because in the mind of the reader, that's why I wanted to include more study as we go on with different acharyas commentaries. There are still lingering, the question may be raised: what about the husbands? What happened? How did they deal with a night of Brahma? Their wives not there, so it's being tied up and reconciled.
Mushra.
Just like when one is laying down on the bed, like husband and wife, when one dreams at night and goes out and might do some nonsense when dreaming, the husband can't say to the wife, "Oh, you went out of your body and you were dreaming in a way that I don't like." So it's just automatically accepted that okay, whatever went on. So similarly, when the gopis went out and enjoyed with Krishna, they can't be accused of enjoying with Krishna, quote unquote, of something illicit, because this is real. This is an actual real pastime that's eternal. So it's not, they can't be accused of anything illicit.
That's also a confirmation of how sacred it is, our internal absorption. How it's very, very sacred and generally not to be shared with many at all, because how can you really understand what's in another person's heart? Of course, we're basing this on philosophy, but it's very, oh, there's Nanda to solve the problems. Nandaji.
Oh, no, not solving. I have a weird question. I don't know if, no. So what happens to the duplicate gopis? Are they, okay, sorry, I'm just gonna express my ignorance. Are they real people that have a real existence when they're not the duplicate gopi? Or
They
they,
do, yes, they do. As far as my understanding, Mukunda, as far as my understanding in the Gopala Champa, it is said at the end of everything, everyone loves them.
It's interesting. There's two different commentaries which kind of appear to contradict one another. Here, Vishwanath says, when the real gopis returned to their individual homes after the Rasa dance, Yogamaya made the replica gopis disappear.
yeah,
Whereas in Gopala Champu, Samapriya just read it the other night. She reads it, like she said, the book is always there. That's her go-to book. And she read about how these particular women, because they were there in the village all the time, and they actually became very dear to everyone. And at the end of the book, there's a big chariot where Krishna is going to take everyone
Yeah.
back to the spiritual world. And Sama, weren't they included in that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh.
That's not the essence right now. The point is that they are real
They
people.
are real people. Certainly
They-
they are. They were
they're real
created by
people.
Yogamaya.
Yeah, and they have souls. They are souls. They're
Yeah,
eternal
yeah.
souls.
Ye-
Hare Krishna.
they just always stay hiding.
No, they don't. Mukunda, what?
Yeah, no, actually what happens is that there's different, what's called prakash of a lila. Like in a movie, you have alternate endings. So there are different prakash in a lila. In the lila, there's prakash bed, abhiman bed. In other words, those real gopis and the replica gopis are not two different people.
Oh,
They're
wait
not
a
really
minute.
two different people. They're actually, it's a different prakash of the lila. A good example is
Oh.
that when Krishna was in Dwarka and Narada Muni went to visit, and he went to every house and Krishna was doing something different, there was still the same families. Remember, Krishna wasn't changing families, but he saw that in one place, that group with the families was acting in one way, another palace another way. So Acharyas explained that that was to teach Narada Muni about Prakash Bhed, that Krishna has unlimited leelas going on simultaneously, unlike a regular yogi.
But
Absolutely.
this particular one, it specifically says that these women, and I'll find the verse and
Yeah.
and then I'll
Well,
send
they
it to you.
love them.
They're
weren't two
eternal.
different people. Yeah, they're actually, but they're
They
not separate.
are
Yeah.
separate people.
Oh,
They
they're
are
separate.
they're separate people. They're separate entities, and
Mhm.
they're created, and their existence, so to speak, in this situation is created by Yoga Maya, by Purnamasi. But they are individual people that, by the end, and all the problems were solved. Everyone loves them because they were protectors of the gopis. I'll send it to you, Mukundaji.
I've seen that. Because at the end, of course, when Krishna, after killing Dantavakra, Jiva Goswami says he returns to Vrindavan.
Yeah.
At that time, there's a recommendation that now they can marry Krishna. And then the question arises, well, wait a minute, what about what about all these gopis who were married, etc., etc.? So then she says that I made them as replicas. So then she says I can prove it, and she brings them out side by side, right? And then what happens is that when they come out side by side, then they want to test to see, well, is this true that these are the real gopis and these are replicas? So then when she brings them out, she asks them in the version of Gopal Champa I have, that they go through fire. In fact, Durvasha comes and says, regular fire won't do, because Purnamasi gives the argument, I did this before with Sita, that I made a shadow Sita. So Durvasha says, well, actually they have to walk through the fire of my austerities. And when they walk through, they come out and only the real gopis are there. So
It's different version, I think.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you, then we can continue this
Okay.
discussion.
Where
after.
was what you were talking about, Mukunda?
this
Where's
is
that?
near the end when Krishna returns.
No, in Gopal Champu or what book? I'm just wondering.
In
Gopal
Gopal-
Champu. I think there's two main volumes of the Gopal
Right.
Champu. So you have the other one. Anyway, Nanda, we'll discuss this later.
The point
Okay.
is that, yes, they're real people. They were produced by Yogamaya. They actually exist. They're not just some kind of illusory digital image or something, but they actually
Although they consider it to be
wise.
illusory. It's very confusing. Nada.
Yeah, so during this conversation with you, with the devotees, then I was remembering how when Krishna married the 16,000 princesses, that all the residents of Dwarka expanded themselves and went to each wedding. Devaki and Vasudeva attended each wedding. All the other people attended each wedding. So, yeah, I was just remembering how
It's same
beyond
thing happened in
my
Braj.
limited capacity to understand things.
Same thing happened in Vrindavan, and we're talking 300 billion gopis that Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj and all the residents of Braj, they all went to the same wedding. They all went to each wedding. And the spiritual energy is a little
Yeah,
difficult to do. Okay, let's
you.
go on. Thank you, everyone. Nanda, you want to read? Krishna
Sure.
book?
Yes. Text 38 from Krishna book. After the rasa dance was over, the night turned into the Brahma Muhurta, the night of Brahma, a very, very long period, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Muhurta takes place about 1.5 hours before sunrise. It is recommended that one should rise from bed at that time and, after finishing daily ablutions, take to spiritual activities by performing Mangal Arati and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. This period is very convenient for the execution of spiritual activities. When that auspicious moment arrived, Krishna asked the gopis to leave. Although they were not willing to quit his company, they were very obedient and dear to him. As soon as Krishna asked them to go home, they immediately left and returned home. Sukadev Goswami concludes this episode of Ras Leela by pointing out that if a person hears from the right source of the pastimes of Krishna, who is Vishnu himself, and the gopis, who are expansions of his energy, then he will be relieved from the most dangerous type of disease, namely lust. If one actually hears Ras Leela, he will become completely freed from the lusty desire of sex life and elevated to the highest level of spiritual understanding. Generally, because they hear from Mayavadis and they themselves are Mayavadis, people become more and more implicated in sex life. The conditioned soul should hear the Ras Leela dance from an authorized spiritual master and be trained by him so that he can understand the whole situation. Thus, one can be elevated to the highest standard of spiritual life. Otherwise, one will be implicated. Material lust is a kind of heart disease, and to cure the material heart disease of the conditioned soul, it is recommended that one should hear, but not from the impersonalist rascals. If one hears from the right source with the right understanding, then his situation will be different.
Okay. Faye, why don't you continue and then we can have a discussion. Faye?
Hare Krishna,
Haribo.
text 38, Saratha Darshini. After an entire night of Brahma had passed, Lord Krishna advised the gopis to return to their homes. Although they did not wish to do so, the Lord's beloved consorts complied with his command. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commentary. After an entire night of Brahma, 1,000 yuga cycles passed. The gopis returned to their houses. Krishna, whose every desire is fulfilled, wanted his pastimes of singing, dancing, and sporting with the gopis to last for a night of Brahma. Therefore, 1,000 ages entered within a single 12-hour night. These 1,000 yuga cycle also fits within the duration of the 4 praharas, 8 hours of human time calculation at the site of the rasa dance. This inconceivable compression of time compares with the fact that within the 10-mile area of Vrindavan, Brahman saw the universe, which measures billions of miles, during the pastime of stealing Krishna's cows. Or one may consider that Mother Yashoda could not encircle the small abdomen of child Krishna with thousands of ropes, and at another time, Krishna manifested the entire universe within his mouth. Therefore, one should not think that the Ras dance could not possibly last for such a long duration of time. The transcendental power of spiritual reality is concisely explained in Srila Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Nothing is impossible for the Lord, his dear devotees, his transcendental abode, or the time of his pastimes, for all of these entities are inconceivably powerful. The word Vasudevanamudita indicates that the Lord Krishna advised the gopis to assure the success of these pastimes. You and I should keep our love secret. The word Vasudeva, a name of Krishna, also indicates Krishna's plenary expansion, who acts as a presiding deity of consciousness. When the word Vasudeva is understood in this context, the word Vasudeva Namodita indicates that Vasudeva, the presiding deity of consciousness, manifested embarrassment and fear of the elder gopis.
Of their elders within the gopis.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting me, teacher. Manifested embarrassment and fear of their elders within the gopis' hearts. And therefore, it was only with great reluctance that the young girls returned home.
Okay. So let's have a discussion of this start with Nanda and Faye, both of you.
So,
Nanda?
so in the verse 38 from Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada explains at least I was roughly calculating at least 6 or 7 times there, a point that we've already discussed already, but still that you have to hear from the right person. Hearing from the right person means purification. Hearing from somebody who's contaminated with Mayavadi philosophy means downhill slide still, you know. But hearing these pastimes, inconceivable as they are, and as apparently risque they are to the mundane point of view, will purify the heart of lust, as long as we're hearing from Prabhupada and Prabhupada's followers and those who have that same purity of heart. And all I can say is, how did we get so fortunate to hear from Prabhupada? I don't know. But anyway, I'm very grateful.
Good. Acharya, you want to say something? And then Faye?
Faye first, please.
Oh, Faye, you want to talk about what you read?
I would like it if teacher would put the text up, please. One of my favorite pastimes is the Leela where Mother Yashoda opens the tiny mouth of baby Krishna and sees all these universes inside his little mouth. And I can imagine the stars and sun sparkling brightly on Yashoda's earrings, just glittering. So when the Ras Leela is explained to us with such detail and perfection of the setting of the scene, of course Krishna can do everything inconceivable. Why not?
Very good
Who
point.
would
Excellent.
doubt that this dance could last so long. It's got
Wonderful.
to be the pinnacle of all pastimes by the time suspension alone. I just think it's incredible.
It is credible because it's Krishna, but it is
Correct.
inconceivable. That's the magic word.
Yes,
Inconceivable. Good, Faye. That's
That's
beautiful. All right, Acharya.
Hare Krishna, thanks. This is a small thing, but I really enjoyed. I thought it was very good and very clever, actually, Prabhupada's use of the term Brahma Muhurta in the Krishna book section. And I thought it was clever because he's using Brahma Muhurta in two different ways. One is Brahma Muhurta is the 48 minutes. Is that right? 48 minutes is the Muhurta
Right.
at the end of the night. So the Rasa dance is wrapping up. It's the end of the night. It's Brahma Muhurta. The gopis are getting ready to go home. And Brahma Muhurta also in a more general sense, Muhurta just means like a period of time. So Brahma Muhurta is a period of time for Lord Brahma.
Right.
So at the same time, he's also addressing that, this night, which lasted so many, 1,000 yuga cycles. So I just thought it was very clever how Prabhupada used Brahma Muhurta in that sort of dual way.
That's very sweet. Thank you. Bahushara.
Going along with what Acharya is saying, is that we say Brahma Muhurta. It sounds like it's one Muhurta. It's actually two Muhurtas. 48 and 48 is 90 minutes. So from 4:30 until 6 a.m., that is the Brahma Muhurta. Of course, when it's daylight savings time, then it'll be 7 a.m. But the thing is, those two Muhurtas from 4:30, which is actually Brahma Muhurta, then there's another name for the next Muhurta, all the way up to 6 a.m. So it's all
So
auspicious.
why do they call it the Brahma Muhurta then? When it's a combination of two.
Yeah, it's a generalization.
I see.
And
because
it also
Muhurta
says
is only
an hour and a
48.
half,
Yeah.
hour and a half before sunrise.
Because one
which is
Muhurta is only 48 minutes.
Right. Good. Nanda.
This just a little piece of information that right before this Zoom meeting was happening, I was listening to a lecture out of Silicon Valley by Radhika Raman Prabhu, and the professor. And he was talking about the difference between material perception of time being linear and the Vedic perception of time or understanding of time as cyclical, going in cycles. But it really helped, I thought, and I just thought I'd mention it. And so the title of it it's a two-part series, and it was strategically studying the Shastras from Radhika Raman, and it came out of ISV, just in case.
Thank you.
Some,
Thank you. And thank you for your realizations of before when you read, and all your realizations. Thank you. All right. Did you
not
want to say
much
something?
realization, but thanks.
Mukunda, did you want to say something before we went on? No? Yes. You're muted, so I can only speculate what you
No,
said.
no, no. I was saying we could go on. No. I wasn't-
Okay. So I want to ask Madan to read. Madan, are you with us? Madan?
It's okay. I'm not going to read this morning.
Okay. Thank you. Nice to see you here. Madhurya Leela, are you there now? Madhurya. Okay, she's not. Acharya, why don't you read?
Okay, text 39, Krishna book. Shukadev Goswami has used the word Shraddhanvita for one who is trained in the spiritual life. Shraddha, or faith, is the beginning. One who has developed his faith in Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Spirit Soul, can both describe and hear. Shukadev also used the word Anushinuyat. One must hear from disciplic succession. Anu means following, and Anu means always. So one must always follow the disciplic succession and not hear from any stray professional reciter, Mayavadi, or ordinary man. Anushinuyat means that one must hear from an authorized person. who is in the disciplic succession and is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. When a person wants to hear in this way, then the effect will be sure. By hearing Rasa Leela, one will be elevated to the highest position of spiritual life. Shukadev Goswami uses two specific words, bhaktim and param. Bhaktim param means execution of devotional service above the neophyte stage. Those who are simply attracted to temple worship but do not know the philosophy of bhakti are in the neophyte stage. That sort of bhakti is not the perfectional stage. The perfectional stage of bhakti or devotional service is completely free from material contamination. The most dangerous aspect of contamination is lust or sex life. Bhaktim param, devotional service, is so potent that the more one advances in this line, the more he loses his attraction for material life. One who is actually deriving benefit from hearing Rasa Leela dance surely achieves the transcendental position. He surely loses all traces of lust in his heart.
Go on reading.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that according to Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma day and Brahma night are periods of solar years expanding to 4,300,000 multiplied by 1,000. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the rasa dance was performed during the long period of Brahma's night, but the gopis could not understand that. In order to fulfill their desire, Krishna extended the night to cover such a great period of time. One may ask how this was possible, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reminds us that Krishna, although bound by a small rope, could show his mother the whole universe within his mouth. How is this possible? The answer is that he can do anything for the pleasure of his devotees. Similarly, because the gopis wanted to enjoy Krishna, they were given the opportunity to associate with him for a long period. This was done according to his promise. When Krishna stole the garments of the gopis while they were taking bath at Chirghat on Yamuna, Krishna promised to fulfill their desire in some future night. In one night, therefore, they enjoyed the company of Krishna as their beloved husband, but that night was not an ordinary night. It was a night of Brahma and lasted millions and millions of years. Everything is possible for Krishna, for he is the supreme controller. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 32nd chapter of Krishna, description of the rasa dance.
Okay, so Acharya, you want to comment on that? It's a lot you just read.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Actually, can I wait until after we hear the actual verse in the next section, and I'll comment later?
Okay, sure.
Because
sure.
I have a very specific, appreciation tied with the actual
Okay.
transcript of the verse. So I'll bow
That
out for
sounds-
right now.
That's good. Okay, shall we then continue on? Chaitanya, you want to finish up for us here?
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, anyone, text 39 from the Sarartha Darshini. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, one who hears and chants about Krishna's Ras Leela, which is the crest jewel of all pastimes, gets the crest jewel of all results, namely Krishna Prem, Bhaktim Param. One who continuously hears, glorifies, or writes poetry about this autumnal Ras Leela and similar pastimes of Krishna described by other poets. First of all, even if he has the heart disease of material lust, becomes imbued with prem. Then, by its effect, the disease of the heart is destroyed. Yes, or writes poetry. Yes, that's something Prabhupada encourages us to write. So, thus it is understood here that this prem is independent. It is not weak or dependent like Jnana Yoga. Here, Kam Hrid Rogam refers to the heart disease of material lust. When the word is used in relation to Krishna, however, this meaning is excluded. In relation to Krishna, kamam is prema, pure love, and it has the opposite effect of material lust, or kamam. One who faithfully hears and glorifies Krishna's rasa dance is described as learned, for he does not foolishly doubt. How can Krishna Prem appear if material lust is present? Krishna Prem will definitely appear in that person who is devoid of foolishness and who accepts the statements of Scripture with full faith. However, Krishna Prem will not appear within those who have no faith in Krishna and who offend Krishna's holy name. The divine Ras Leela is like the loving smile of the intimate devotee of Krishna, who is victorious and glorified for his ability to conquer Krishna by his pure love.
Oh my goodness, so wonderful.
Amazing.
Okay, so Acharya, why don't you speak and then Chaitanya think about this so that you can say something.
Okay, just that I really, really love this verse. This is just such an incredible verse, and it has so much in it. But the number one thing when I hear it, the thing that always strikes me is that it's saying, yes, you can read Rasa Leela. We're discussing, who's qualified or how to read it or should we read it. But this verse says, yes, you're a conditioned soul. Still, you hear Rasa Leela.
Must
So,
hear it, because why? You have a human body.
yeah, going back to that, sure.
Very
And
good.
so many other things, it talks about the qualification of the person who's hearing, that he has to be, what was the word? Shraddhanvita, he has to be faithful, and what the result of it is. If you're hearing the highest thing, then you'll get the highest result. But that's what always strikes me, is that this is directly saying you're a conditioned soul. That's okay. You hear it anyway.
Right.
So to me, I always took that as important.
That's wonderful. Mukunda, in just one moment, I just wanted to say, I heard Prabhupada say this morning also, he talks about the foolishness without hearing with faith. We have to have faith in first you find the perfect person, and then you have faith in what he is saying. Otherwise, you're going to miss everything. You have to have faith. That's why you have to have the pure Acharya to help you.
And that's also, faith. We hear Ado Shraddha. That's like the very first step, but it carries all the way up to here.
Certainly.
That same
Beautiful.
principle.
Very good. Mukunda? Unmute. Unmute, sweetie.
Yeah, I was trying to find out. Chaitanya should certainly go first. I can speak after. Yeah.
Oh, did you want to speak? Okay, whatever.
Chaitanya can go. I'll speak after. Yeah.
Thank you, Mukunda. Let's see. So I'm reminded of this class that we had this morning, which happened to be on Adi Leela, chapter 4, verses 163 through 165, which describe in detail the difference between lust and love, according to Lord Chaitanya. And this reading of the Rasa Leela is our entry into the mood that is there in the spiritual world. That's the eternal mood, whereas our mood here in the material world is one of exploitation. In the purport to those verses in the Adi Leela, Srila Prabhupada explains that lust is the desire to exploit or control for personal pleasure. And here we have all of these gopis who have absolutely no personal motive except to please Krishna. And And it would seem materially impossible, but they are experiencing so much higher pleasure than we could ever experience in our efforts to exploit.
Because material. You
Because they're
can't-
material.
They're material, and the material is like ding, and spiritual is eternal, infinite. Very good. Thank you. Mukunda? Were you finished, Chaita?
I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kundaji.
Yeah, so Haribo, there was two things I wanted to mention. One is that I remember seeing Srila Prabhupada often talk about Mayavadis, and I always associated that with, people who were very learned in the teachings of Shankaracharya. And I used to think, well, why is Srila Prabhupada referring to the whole West, and even in his pranam mantras, as people who are being Mayavadis? And the whole idea is that really the essence of Mayavad is the desire to be God. That's the essence of Mayavad. And in the material sphere, everyone is acting for their own pleasure. They're also trying to be God. So it is first class Mayavad, even if you've never read the books of Shankaracharya.
Right,
So
of
that's the idea
course.
of Mayavad.
Nice point.
Yeah.
Nice point. So when he's warning somebody, don't hear from those people, that's the type, that person with an enjoyment spirit.
Yes, they're also Mayavadis because they
good.
want to be also Bhagavan. The other thing was in the verse, it's mentioning there, Shraddha Anvita. Anvita means in Sanskrit like to be fully endowed with something. So here the speaker should be fully endowed with Paramatmik Shraddha, means realization of Krishna. We are following in the footsteps of such a person as Srila Prabhupada, our gurus. So therefore we're speaking in following them. So even if we have not fully realized, we're speaking and following realized souls. The other thing is Anusranu means, the word anu in Sanskrit has three meanings prominently. One meaning means to do something continuously. Another meaning is to follow something. To do anugata means to follow something. And the last meaning is anutva, which means like an anu is called an atom. So the feeling of being very small, of being very humble, is another meaning of the word anu. So to
Small.
continuously follow pure souls with great humility, hearing in that mood is called anusranu.
Very nice. Very sweet. Anu. I knew anu means something very small.
Yeah, exactly.
We're anu. But
Yeah,
to
we're
follow.
anu. Yeah,
We
we're
are
anu,
definitely
yeah.
anu. Good. Anyone else? Mahushra, you want to say something? No. Okay.
Wanted to close up with this quote here at the end. At the end of chapters or at the end of stories, oftentimes there's what's called Shruti Pal. Shruti means to hear and Pal means the fruit. What is the fruit of hearing this pastime? Up in the verse it says, anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. And in the end here he says, Krishna Prema will definitely appear in the person who is devoid of foolishness and who accepts the statements of scripture with full faith. However, Krishna Prema will not appear with those who have no faith in Krishna or who offend Krishna's holy name. The divine Rasa Leela is like a loving smile of the intimate devotees of Krishna, who is victorious and glorified for his ability to conquer Krishna by his pure love. So
How
thank you all
beautiful.
for your
Wow.
association during these months of studying this
wonderful.
pastimes. We will continue, but that's the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam narration of the Rasa dance.
And now we'll try to understand the other things that we are going to present in relation to it. Thank you so much, everyone, for your association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Panchakalpa tarujasya kripa sindhu evacha titanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Namo Namaha, Hari
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.